Good morning, students. In the last class, we have completed the two factors which affecting the individual demand. The first one is effect of the change in the price of the commodity, and second is effect of the change in the price of the related good. And we are also studying that the in yesterday class that what are the difference between the normal good and the inferior good. We have also completed the difference between. So now in today's class we have to study the effect of the change in the income of the consumer whenever there is whenever the income of the consumer is increases, as well as whenever the decrease in the income of the consumer. So first condition is here A. We are studying the uh, uh, factors determining the individual demand, in which we have studied the factors that the income of the consumer, how the income of the consumer is affecting the individual demand. So that in which we have studied the first, what is the effect of change in income on demand of a normal good, and X being a normal good. Okay. Whenever the income of the consumer is changed, okay, income is shown by the Y, that is here we have seen that the Y on the demand of the normal good, and we have taken the demand is X commodity. Okay, what will impact on the demand of the X commodity, and here the X is the normal good, not inferior good. Okay, with the increase in the income of an individual, the demand for the normal good rises, the curve shift to the right. Okay, देखिए क्या होगा, जैसे ही किसी भी कंज्यूमर की, फॉर एग्जांपल मेरी इनकम 10,000 है, ठीक, अब मेरी इनकम इंक्रीज होके 30,000 हो गई. सो इस कंडीशन में मेरी डिमांड क्या होगी नॉर्मल गुड और इन्फीरियर गुड पे. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इन 10,000 मैं क्या थी, कुछ इन्फीरियर गुड्स को ही यूज़ करती थी, क्योंकि एट दैट टाइम आई एम नॉट कैपेबल to use the normal good. In that condition, all the inferior good is treated for me as a normal good. But whenever the income of the consumer is increases, so that in that condition he will purchase more and more the normal good. So it is given here that the whenever the income of the consumer is increases, the whenever the income of the consumer is the increases, the demand for the normal good is rises. Then whenever the anything which is impact on the rise in the demand, rise in the quantity demanded, it is obviously that the curve will shift it to the rightward. Okay, then the curve is shifted to the rightward, that is whenever the income of the consumer is increases, the demand for the X commodity here is normal good, so it is also increases. Shift to right, that is demand curve is shifted to DD to D1, that is we have taken the here we have also taken the assumption that the price is the per unit is same, that is 10 in 10, and the quantity is increases from the 4 unit to 8 unit. Here we have taken the price and the quantity. uh, uh, Price is the constant in all the unit, so price will be parallel to the x-axis. It is the parallel to the x-axis. It is the normal demand curve which is on the 4. It is here, it is mentioned the 4, and the when the income of the consumer is increases, the demand for the normal good is increases, so that demand curve will shift it to the rightward. So it will shift it to the rightward, and it is called D1. It is D and D. Okay, it is the change in the increase of the income, so that the demand for the normal good will be also increases. Yes, in above table 3.8 and 3.8 and the figure 3.10 shows that the consumer buys more even at the same price. Okay, here this price is same, Because of increase in his income, the demand curve shifted to the right. Then the demand curve is shifted to the right from D to D1. Okay. Now the next condition is, with the decrease in income of a buyer, the demand for normal good falls. The demand curve will shift it to the left. Okay, whenever the income of the consumer is decreases from 30,000 to 10,000, so the demand for the normal good will also be decreases for the consumer. In that condition, the demand curve will shift it to the leftward. Decrease in the income of the consumer, decrease in the demand for the X commodity. X commodity here is normal good. Then the curve is shifted to the left. Lattice left from DD to D2. Here the price is given as constant at every unit. So the quantity is decreases from 4 to 2. Okay. Yes. Here we have taken the price on the y-axis, quantity on the x-axis. Price is constant, so it will be the parallel to the x-axis. The normal demand curve is 4, but when the income of the consumer is decreases, so the demand of the consumer for the normal good will also be decreases. In that condition, the demand curve will shift it to the rightward, and from D to D2. It is up to you. You have taken D1 or anything, but it is mentioned from the D, that is demand curve, so that the curve is shifted to the leftward from DD to D2. In the case of when the income of the consumer is increases, so the demand for the normal good is also increases. At that condition, demand curve will shift it to the rightward. And in the second condition, when the income of the consumer is decreases, so the demand for the normal good will also be decreases, and the demand curve will shift it to the leftward. It is so simple. Now the next is effect of change in income on demand of inferior good. Till we have studied the impact or effect on the normal good. Now we are going to study the effect on the inferior goods. Okay, and here the X being the inferior good. With the rise in income of the consumer, demand for inferior good falls. Okay, whenever the income of the consumer is rises, for example, when it is rises from income of the consumer is rises from the 10,000 to 30,000 or 30,000 to 50,000, then the demand for the inferior good will fall now, because now the consumer will demand more and more normal good. He will go through the from the vanaspati ghee to deshi ghee. In that condition, the demand for the inferior good will be fall, and the demand for the normal good will be the increases. So in that condition, with the rise in income of the consumer, demand for the inferior good will be false. This is because a consumer would like to buy superior goods. When his income increases, the DD curve of inferior goods shifted to the left from DD to D2. ओके, इसका मतलब यही हुआ. सिंपल सा मीनिंग है, बहुत सिंपल है कि अगर किसी इनकम की किसी इंडिविजुअल की डिमांड क्या हो गई है, इंक्रीज़ कर गई है. किसी कंज्यूमर की क्या हो गई है, इनकम इंक्रीज़ कर गई है. इट इज़ इंक्रीजेस फ्रॉम 10,000 to 50,000. इन दैट कंडीशन what the consumer will do? Consumer demand more and more the normal good and less amount of inferior good. And here we have taken we are seeing the effect on the inferior good, so that the demand curve of the inferior good will be shifted to the leftward. Okay, from DD to D2. Then the shift of the increase in the income of the consumer, decrease in the demand of the inferior goods. So the curve will shifted to the left. Here we have taken the schedule at every unit the price is same and the quantity of the inferior good is decreases when the income of the consumer is increases. So from 4 to 2. In that condition we have taken the price on the y-axis, quantity on the x-axis. Price is same in every unit, so it become the parallel to the x-axis. So that in this condition we have taken the normal demand curve is 4, and when the income of the consumer is increases, then the demand for the inferior good will be decreases, so that the curve will shift it to the leftward. Here we have to also make the diagram for the what are the impact on the normal goods. In that condition the demand curve is shifted to the rightward, because the demand for the normal good is increases when the income of the consumer is increases. Okay, so second condition is, with fall in income of a consumer, the demand for inferior good rises as the consumer is not in position to afford superior goods, so he will demand more of inferior goods. Okay, here क्या कह रहा है कि whenever the income of the consumer is decreases, okay, it is decreases from 50,000 to 10,000. What the consumer will do? The consumer will consume more inferior good and less superior goods, because income of the consumer is decreases. In that condition he will again shift to the vanaspati ghee, and he has to sacrifice the deshi ghee, because now he or she is not in position to consume the more and more normal good or superior good. Okay, in that condition what will be impact on the demand curve of the inferior good? Yes, it will shift it to the rightward, because the demand of the inferior good is increases, so that the curve will shift it to the rightward. Okay, see here, whenever a decrease in the income of the consumer, there will be increase in the demand of the inferior good, then the curve is shifted to the rightward from dd to d1. Here we have taken the y-axis. On y-axis we have taken the price, and on the x-axis we have taken the quantity. Price is same at every unit, and the quantity demanded of the inferior good is increases from the 4 to 8. It is the normal demand curve. When the income of the consumer is falls, then the demand for the inferior good is increases, so that the demand curve will shift it to the rightward. It is d1 or d1. So the demand for the, whenever there is increase in demand, there will be rightward shift of the curve, and whenever there is decrease in demand, it is basically impact on the it is basically see the what will be the impact on the good. It is totally depend upon the what we have taken, what for what purpose we show the relation of the both the commodity or both the factors. So it is totally depend upon it. Whenever we have to show the increase in demand, then it will shift it to the rightward, and whenever we have to show the decrease in demand, it will shift to the leftward. So in this condition, with fall in income of the consumer, the demand for the inferior good is rises, and the demand for the superior good or the normal good will be decreases. Okay, now the next factor is effect of change in taste and preference on the demand of a commodity. Till now what we have studied, what are the different factors which affecting the, first we have studied the price of the goods, second is price of the related good, in which we have studied the substitute goods and the complementary goods. In third the third factor is normal good and the inferior good. Well, what will be the in which we have taken the income of the consumer. when the income of the consumer is changed, what will be the effect on the normal good and the superior good? Normal good and the inferior good. Normal good is also called the superior good. So we have taken the on the basis of what will be the impact of the income of the consumer, how much and how many, the demand, how much demand of the inferior good, as well as the normal good is shifted or changed. And the fourth factors which determining the individual demand, it is the what will be the what will be the effect of the change in the taste and preference of the demand of the commodity. Whenever the taste and preference of the any customer, any consumer is changed, so what will we have see on the demand of the commodity? So if the first is, if the taste and preference shift in favor of commodity, the demand rises and the curve shift to the right. Okay, for example, that we have taken the, now there is demand of the people more and more prefer the Nike. So in that condition, when the taste and preference of the consumer is totally shifted to the Nike, or shifted to the his or her favorite commodity, or the in the favor of the commodity, in that condition, in the case of Nike, the demand for the Nike will be the increases. And in that condition also, in at the same condition, when we are talking about the Puma, the for that, in that condition, the all the favor is against the Puma. In that condition, the curve will shifted to the leftward, because nobody is want to purchase the Puma. Everybody want to purchase the product of the Nike. For the Nike, that it is in favor. In that condition, the demand is increasing. It would leads to the rightward shift of the demand curve. But in the case of Puma, many people is not favoring it, so the curve will shift it to the leftward. Simple. It is totally depend upon the taste and preference of the consumer. If the taste and प्रेफरेंस शिफ्ट इन दी फेवर ऑफ द कमोडिटी. ओके, अभी क्या हो रहा है, वो किसी कमोडिटी के फेवर में क्या हो रहा है, टेस्ट एंड प्रेफरेंस चेंज हो रहा है. नाउ वी आर मोर एंड मोर कंज्यूमिंग द बर्गर. So in the condition of the in the favor, when the demand of the any consumer is in the favor of burger, then the demand for the burger is increases. The taste and preference of the consumer is changing in favor of burger, so that demand is also increases. But in the case of taste and preference is not in favor of the pizza, so the demand for the pizza is decreasing. Simple. So if the taste and preference of the shift in favor of the commodity, the demand rises and curve shifted to the rightward. So whenever the taste and preference of the any commodity is in the favor, it would lead to the increase in demand, and the curve will shift it to the rightward. So taste and preference, increase in taste and preference, increase in the demand, that would lead to the rightward shift of the demand curve. We have taken this schedule. Prices same at per unit, and the quantity is increases from the 4 to 8 unit, means in the second it is increases. In that condition, we have taken the price on the y axis, and x on the x axis it is taken the quantity. Price the curve is for price is same, and the normal demand curve is t. The demand curve is increases, so that the curve is shifted to the rightward. It is the condition of the if the taste and preference is shifted in the favor of the commodity. Okay, now the next is if taste and preference shift against the commodity, then demand falls and the curve shifted to the left. Okay, if the taste and preference is against the commodity, we have taken the example of the pizza and the Puma. It is the against in the taste and preference of the consumer is against the commodity. In that condition, the demand for those commodity decreases, and then demand curve is also shifted to the rightward. So taste and preference is decreasing. In that it result the decrease in demand, and the curve will shifted to the leftward. We have taken this schedule, that is price is same for every unit. Still the price is same, the quantity is decreasing, okay, from 4 to 2 it is decreasing. Here we have taken same as the price and the quantity. Price is same, and the demand, normal demand curve is D, and the curve is shifted to the leftward from DD to D2. Okay. Now the next factor is effect of change in expectation of the buyer on demand of a commodity. What will be the expectation of the buyer on the demand of the commodity, that the price of the any commodity changes in future or not? In that condition, first is if the consumer expect the price of the commodity to rise in future, he will buy more at the existing price. Okay, whenever for example we have taken that the if we know that the price of the onion is increasing in future, so that consumer, what the consumer will do, consumer demand more and more onion, so that whatever the existing price is, it is 80 or 100 or 120 per kg, but consumer think that the price of the onion will be increases up to the 200. Then in that condition, the consumer, what the consumer will do, consumer purchase more of the commodity at the existing price, so that the curve will shift it to the rightward. Okay, here the price is taken at the same, and the quantity demanded is increases from 4 to 8. When the increase in demand, then the curve will shift it to the rightward. Okay, and then in the next condition, second condition, if the consumer expect the price to fall in the future. Okay, if the consumer think that the price of the onion will decreases in the future, so that in that condition consumer will demand less of the onion in the existing price. So at that time, at that condition, the curve will be, the demand curve will shift it to the leftward. Price here we have taken the existing same price, the price is same, and the quantity is decreasing because the price is decreased. So in that condition, the curve will shift it to the leftward. Okay, it is the condition. Next is market demand function. Okay, till now we have studied the individual demand function. Demand function is the relation between the demand of the commodity and the what are the different factors which affecting the demand, in which there are two kind of demand function: individual demand function and the market demand function. We have completed the all the factors determining the individual demand function. Now we are going to start a market demand function. It shows the relationship between the demand for a commodity and its various determinants by all the consumer in a market. Okay, so yes, it shows the, basically it shows the demand of the commodity, what the consumer is demanding, and its various determinant by all the consumer. We have taken here the aggregate demand. We are talking about here aggregate demand, not individual demand. Means total demand of the commodity which is existing in the market. Okay, all the consumer who are the in the market, we are talking about all the market, so that it shows the relation between the demand of the commodity and various determinant which are affecting the demand of the all the, and here we are talking about the all the consumers. So dx is the demand of the x commodity is the function of the price of the x commodity, price of the related good. Y, here y is income, T and P, taste and taste and preference. Here E is expectation, N is population, YD is income, and the S is the season and the climates. YD is the distribution of income. Okay, so additional factors of the market demand, but all these are we have already studied in the individual demand till here expectation. So we will not discuss all these, we will discuss only these three: distribution of income, season and climate, and the population. Okay, so first one is effect of change in the size of population or the market size on the demand of the commodity. So if the size of the population is increases, market demand of the commodity will be also right. It is so simple. Okay, till now you are able to understand all these small things. Whenever the population increases, so the demand of the any commodity will also increases. It means the demand curve will shift it to the rightward. Simple. So that the demand curve of the will shift it to the rightward. Okay, here we have taken the rightward. The demand curve is shifted to the rightward. In the second condition, if the size of the population is decreases, then the demand for the any commodity will also be decreases. In that condition, demand curve is shifted to the rightward. Okay, it is so simple. Whenever there is increase in population, then the demand for any commodity will also increase. It will ultimately leads to the rightward shift of the demand curve. And when the population is decreases, the demand for any commodity will be also decreases. In that condition, the demand of the any commodity will also be decreases. The second is effect of change in the distribution of income on demand of the commodity. If distribution of income is equal, distribution of income means कि there should be equality in the distribution of income. What does it mean? That means any income which is employed or which is given, which is distributed in the three sector: agriculture, industrial, or as well as service sector, there should be equal distribution. It does not give more priority to any sector, any one of them. Okay, there should be distribution of income should be equal, so that it will improve the equality in the society. So in that condition, if the distribution of income is equal, the demand of the commodity will come from all the section of the society, causing market demand to rise. Okay, अगर क्या होता है कि अगर आपकी इनकम क्या है, इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हो रही है, डैट मीन्स एग्रीकल्चर को भी इक्वल मिल रहा है, इंडस्ट्रियल को भी इक्वल मिल रहा है, सर्विस सेक्टर को भी इक्वल मिल रहा है. यहाँ पे कोई भी बायसनेस नहीं हो रही कि हम सर्विस सेक्टर को ज़्यादा इनकम देंगे और इन दोनों को कम देंगे. अगर हर एक सेक्टर के इंडिविजुअल की और पीपल की इनकम इक्वल होगी, तो जब लोगों के पास इनकम होगा तो वो क्या करेंगे, मोर एंड मोर डिमांड करेंगे, सो दैट market demand will also be increases. And when it will increases, then the demand curve will shift it to the rightward. Simple. And when in second condition, if the income of distribution of income is not equal, so only from the agriculture sector or anyone from the service sector will demand more and more commodity. It ultimately doesn't lead the overall demand of the any commodity, so that the curve will shift it to the leftward. Okay, it is shifted to the leftward. See here, if the distribution of income is unequal, all the section of the society may not be able to demand equally. Hence market demand would fall and market demand curve will shift it to the left. Okay, whenever the income is not equal, so that all the sections of the society, it is related to agriculture, industrial, as well as tertiary or service sector, so all the sector will not demanding more and more commodity equally, so the demand of the commodity will also fall and the demand curve will shift it to the leftward. For example, it will shift it to the leftward from D to D to D2. It is so simple. Okay. Now the next is effect of season and climate on the demand of a commodity. The season and weather condition affect the market demand of a commodity. Example, during winters demand for woolen cloth increases. If rainy season prolongs, demand for the umbrellas, raincoat will also increases. Okay. For example, we have, it is totally depend upon the what the season is running. If the season of the winter, so that more and more people will demanding the woolen cloths, and whenever the season of the summer, so that more and more people will demand the cooler as well as air conditioner. So it is totally depend upon the what the season are. Okay. And so that the demand curve will shifted to the rightward. But in the case of against, we have taken the demand of ice cream will be more in summer but less in winter. Okay. अब डिमांड हम लोग अगर आइसक्रीम की देखते, अब जैसे हमने अम्ब्रेला ले लिया, तो अम्ब्रेला की डिमांड ज़्यादा किस में होगी, आपके रेनी सीज़न में होगी कि विंटर में होगी, किस में होगी, रेनी सीज़न में होगी. तो डैट मीन्स इट इज़ टोटली डिपेंड अपॉन दी व्हाट आर दी सीज़न and what are the climate we have taken at that time, we are facing at that time. So if the same season and the season is favorable for that condition, the demand of the that commodity will be increases, and when it is against, it is for the off season, then the demand for the that commodity will be decreases. So we have taken the example or the diagram. Here we have taken the price and the quantity. So it is the normal demand curve. Whenever there is we have taken the demand of the ice, we have taken the demand of the ice. So the demand of the ice is the more in the case of summer, so that the curve will shifted to the rightward. But in the case of winter, the demand for the ice will